do is take the Spawn figure and put him into those awesome Todd McFarlane poses that I see from the panels. Like, I love the idea of getting my Spawn figure in that crouch, elbows in the thighs.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Oh man, on the cross, like that.
This is not going to be that figure.
Okay.
Right? Because to do that, there's engineering that goes with it. To do that, it's a different figure, right? What this is me trying to do a remastered version of that first figure, period. Not, like I said, not trying to solve every solution to every figure. When I get to that, and we will make that figure, we will make the Spawn that will crouch on a cross or a gargoyle, but it now is going to have one. It's going to have way more articulation. It is going to have a lot more flexibility in the cape. Like there's things that I'm going to have to engineer differently. But to do that, to make that toy version look cool, and we'll do it and it'll look super cool, I'm not going to be able to put it into the generic pose that look like that first 1995 toy, right? So the more I try to do some of the stuff that you just mentioned, the less it starts to look like the classic Spawn that I'm trying to sort of pay homage to. This won't be my only Spawn figure, I promise you, right? We'll be able to do some super cool stuff, and we'll get there with some of those ideas. That wasn't the initial plan of what this one was going to be. This is just a cool looking figure paying homage to something that came out that's literally kickstarted my career in making toys, and that's it.
Awesome. So this is not the ultimate Spawn figure at the moment.
Well, it depends. Well, Ross, it depends on what your definition of ultimate is, right?
The one I could get in the crouching poses and with awesome sculpting paint too. I love that stuff too.
Can I give Ross his ultimate figure, and then can I give Bill his ultimate figure someday, and can I give Susan her ultimate figure? I mean, everybody has a slightly different sort of version of what that is in their head. And so maybe by the time I do 5, 6, 7 of these, maybe I'll have to hit, way more people's ultimate than I'm going to hit obviously on the first one. This is my first at bat, right? So let me have a couple more at bats. Let's see how it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, I got to say, well, this has felt like the first at bat right here. I mean,
oh yeah, right, Mortal Kombat.
So I mean, this is I did make attempts at getting this into that crouching pose, and I got pretty close. I mean, that right there is like almost all the way.
No, and that one's pretty good, but to do some of the crazy stuff that I draw, right? I'm have to look. Have you seen some of these like super cool posable Spider-Mans, right?
Yeah,
they're fun to play with. They're fun to play with.
Yeah.
What they aren't are aesthetically pleasing when you're not putting them in a funky pose, right? They're actually kind of ugly. If you put them in the A pose, they're just the sardine standing there.
Yeah,
it's kind of ugly. What makes it cool is all these poses. So you have to just make concessions. So when I get to the point where I'm going to make a Spawn toy that is going to be like, I'm going to have to do stuff that I know is going to look ugly in the chest to get there, to accommodate that. Mm-hmm. But the reason it will look ugly in the chest is because he's not meant to have a handsome chest. He's meant to be in a crouch. And so we'll get him to be able to do that. And then the people go, Todd, how come the chest doesn't look like the other one? Because the other one wasn't meant to go in a deep crouch. That one was. And you have to engineer each one of them slightly different, right? Yeah. Russ, that I should be doing the exact same thing within the confines of almost every figure that I sculpt anyway, right? And so I've had this conversation with my sculptors recently where I'm saying, stop becoming a slave to definite moments, definite numbers. You're gonna put yourself into a corner. So what that means is, let's say that we have different buckets of articulation. And let's say one of the buckets is highly articulated. I think highly articulated can come with between 17 and 24 moving parts. I think there's a range in highly articulated. And then less than 17 becomes, moderately articulated. And then you have the so, but I don't want to have the standard be for highly articulated. It has to be 23. I don't want that. I don't want us to be a slave to that. Why? Because I don't believe if I'm sculpting and making Black Widow or I'm making the Hulk, that those two should move the same way. That their initial pose, their A pose should be the same. You want me to make a nice, sexy female figure who's lithe and can move a lot. You want me to make her?
Wait, non-sexy? I never said that. I never said.
I'm just saying. You want me to make that the same as like this Frankenstein gorilla Hulk figure? You want those to both be the same, like in the A pose? No, I'll let the other companies do that. I'm saying a gorilla, a Hulk should feel like a Hulk and move like a Hulk. And if that means that he can only have 20 moving parts and Scarlet Witch can have 24 moving parts, it doesn't mean that I did anything less for either one of those characters. It means that I basically sculpted the right figure for the shape artistically of that character, right? And instead of being a slave to a action figure must be A, B, and C. I don't agree with that. I think a Hulk figure should be A, B, and C. You're saying action figures. You're making it generic. I'm not. I'm saying Hulk should have this, this, and this, which is different than Thor, who should have this, this, and this, which is different than Batman, who should have this, this, and that. Like, there should be a difference in them, especially in terms of the scale and the size. So that's all I'm doing. And I know that at times people don't agree with the decisions I make, and it's okay. But I'm thinking about like the art of it at the same time I'm thinking about the toy part of it. And I think it's okay to have a cool, super cool looking Hulk or Solomon Grundy or whatever Berserker toy, whatever, that looks like it weighs 2,000 pounds, have one or two less articulation so that it feels bulkier. It feels bulkier. But to give it that one or two extra pieces of articulation, I've got to make an accommodation that now isn't going to make him feel quite as heavy. And I'd rather that figure look heavy. So those are the things that are going through my head while I'm doing. I have a reason for everything I do. Nobody has to agree with it, but I have a reasoning and a rationale. Some of it's practical, some of it's engineering, and some of it's just artistic.
No, I think that idea speaks for itself right here. Like with the Hellbat suit, I have it right over here. It's a wing off, but this guy is a pretty bulky figure, bulkier than most of the other figures. Comparing him to Nightwing, yep, where Nightwing has the double jointed elbows, the Hellbat suit does not have those double jointed elbows, which is actually fine because it's a much bulkier, larger figure. It just makes sense.
Yeah, because and the thing is too, to get a double joint, it works way better if you have like skinnier pieces. Too, because you can fold them a little bit more, right? It's way easier to do it like on a Flash figure, let me just say, than it is to do that. So what that figure has to do is, number one, just look super cool in the box. Why? Because that design is not well known. It's only appeared, on a couple pages in the comic books, right? So it has to look good in a box, and then you pick it up off the peg and you say, oh my gosh, it's pretty heavy. And then you get it home, and only after you get it home do you then go, oh my gosh, it comes with two big giant wings on top of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to have a box where I could have the wings on it so that it looks big to start with. But I can sell a figure that isn't well known by doing a quality job on it, making it look like it's a lot of value, giving you a ton of plastic and selling it for $20, that people go, hey, okay, I'm a Batman fan. I've never had a Batman look like that. That's pretty awesome. Cool. And I'll just take it home. And so at the end of the day, I'm just trying to sell cool stuff to people. And being perfect all the time, being accurate, isn't nearly as valuable as you might imagine when you can just go, no, I'm going to distort this or take some artistic license because I think it's just going to look cooler. Just going to look cooler.
Well, that's the thing I've been I've been, just an idea that I've been kind of just pushing on my channel that I've just been putting out there that, you know, making action figures is an art form. I see it as an art form, especially hearing creators like yourself talking about, okay, this is my first time at bat. I'm going to have another crack at it, and I'm going to do this and this differently. I'm going to take another crack at it after that. I'm going to do this and this differently. I mean, that description right there is art, right? Like, you don't do the same exact thing the same exact way every time. You don't let numbers dictate the way you create, right? That just doesn't create a good formula for good product in my mind if you're just sticking to it.
Russ, there may even come a time where I actually go in the other direction, where I actually want to do something that's a little more statuesque, because I want to keep all the art and I want to have a certain lock pose. And then people who don't want that kind of stuff in their collection, don't enjoy it, then walk away from it, right? But those that do, that aren't nearly as worked up over that as you, right? I get it. You like the New York Yankees. Some people like the Red Sox, right? So we're not all made the same. That you just sort of put a product out there and then you just hope that you get enough success and you can do it again, right? That's it. I mean, if you have a dismal failure and you lose money, then you stop doing something. But if you say, hey, when I do a ton of articulation, I sell 100,000 figures, and when I do limited, I sell 20,000. But if you can still make money at 20,000, it shouldn't prevent you from doing it, right? Because I get it. There's only 1/5 of the amount of people, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. So I think there's room, and we see it in the toy business. There's room for all kinds of figures, super high-end, ultra articulated stuff, and then stuff that's a little more plastic statues, right? And everything in between that. And then you just put it out and you let the consumer choose the ones that they think are best suited for their collection.
Oh, I see the comments frequently with people that totally disagree with the things that I ask for. You know what I mean? People are like, dude, you ask for too much articulation. I like the figures just fine the way they're doing it. So it's like, yeah, there's all kinds of different.
Okay, we put in that video. We put in that video that we got this body is rubber.
Yeah.
So I could do a bend in it, and I haven't decided engineering wise. I'm going to have to decide the next week whether I'm going to do it or not. And if you go to the comments, it's about 50-50. Yes and no. So no matter what I choose, I'm probably going to frustrate half the people. Go, oh, darn it, I wish you'd done it that way.
Well, a concern I saw in the comments on the Kickstarter was that you're showing how pliable that material is for the torso. And some people were saying, well, I want to know if that's going to degrade over time. How durable will that be? A question I have is that material similar to the material that we saw on the Cyberpunk 2077 figures? The V figure, that torso was really, really flexible. You could bend it in any direction. It seems like it's right in between that. It's not silicon. It's not that soft, but it's still firm.
So silicon, you can make it as thick as you want, right? It's like anything else. So if you make it thin, it's gonna move a lot more. We've done it with capes and stuff like that, so you can bend them. If you get a little bit thicker, obviously it's going to get more rigid. You're going to have less flexibility in it. The upside of making it a little bit thicker is that it won't wrinkle quite as much. It'll hold its shape a lot more. The thinner it is, it wants to collapse and wrinkle, just like skin. So again, you start to make choices artistically as to what you want to do. Then you also say, depending on what your mechanism is inside that. I mean, the reason you're using a rubber torso is because you're trying to get some kind of movement. Depending on how much range of motion you want to get, sometimes if you want a lot of range, you have to go to thinner plastic so that it will actually stretch when you're doing these dynamic sort of movements on it. Although maybe the thick one might hold the detail a little bit better. So you're constantly balancing your decision making as to what's more important at that moment. Do I want more range, or do I want more art, or do I want more accuracy? And so and the thing is, you never can do all of it. That's the frustration. And so you just keep offering all these different figures, so that there's the one that actually is the flexible one. There's the one that looks cool. There's the big one. There's the tall one. There's the one that lights up. There's the one that the sound. And I'm never going to make the figure that basically has all of those accommodated in a very high quality way in one figure. I can't. It's an impossible task unless you want me to make it 1.5 feet tall and charge you $300, and I'd rather not do that.
Yeah, but that Cyberpunk figure, that came out really good. I felt like that was like the perfect medium, like that was the sweet spot, I think, because the detail on that jacket and everything looks badass. The paint and everything looks incredible, but there's tons of articulation right there.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing with that one, please do that on the Spawn, because I thought it worked out really well.
Well, the thing is, too, and I don't know if you're talking about the 7-inch or the 12-inch version.
Oh, the 7-inch one. Sorry, the 7-inch. Yeah.
Okay, so and it depends. Like I said, and it also depends what kind of detail and what kind of paint you're going to put on there too.
Right.
You know, it works very well for simple designs. You know, you don't want to do elaborate painting, too much elaborate painting on that rubber, because when you bend it, sometimes it can crack and rub off just by the nature of your thumb going across it. So there's all those pieces that you have to take into consideration too. But anyways, I haven't decided what will probably happen. If I don't do it, then I'll probably reprise it on another figure down the line to just say, hey, we've tried both, so that, again, you know, we can see whether the audience likes one more than the other, or one seems to have been produced better than the other. So.
Okay, and then one thing I wanted to ask, has the idea been kicked around? I know, I'm like, the idea has been kicked around that it'd be really cool to see interchangeable hands and just a little bit more accessories for some of the figures. I wouldn't be bummed out if I saw the retail price point go from like $20 to $25 if we started seeing interchangeable hands and just like smaller accessories with the figures. However, I don't know. I'm a knucklehead. I don't really know how the pricing works in that regard. You know what I mean? I could say, oh, I'll pay $5 more. And then you could be like, hey, from our end, it's actually $10 more. I don't really know. But
no, so it's an interesting conversation. And this is why and I appreciate people like you having these conversations, because they can go for a long time, right? And if we were in a room with 50 people, it would be, I think, a spectacular conversation. Here's the thing that I run up against. If I'm going to sell, let's say, at Walmart and Target, and I know the answer everybody's saying, well, don't, right? Don't. But that's a different product. That for those guys, they're saying, Todd, to some extent, I don't want to hear it. I need something for $20, right? Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear how big, small, just get it to $20. They're almost blind to what's in the box, right? No. So they're not saying, hey, do a cooler Batman or make the cape cooler. They're not doing any of that. They're just saying, get me a saleable Batman for $20. And so if I do a Batman in the armor and it costs me more money because I decided to do some extra stuff and add it, it's of no consequence to them. They don't care. They don't care what my profit margins are either, right? They just go, I need a $20 toy for my customer. You make money on it or you don't, Todd, that's on you, right? So this becomes, we just keep circling back to the same conversation. So then you sit there and say, you know what? I can either put in a different pair of hands, which sometimes we do, or I can take that 20 cents and I can add, 9 different places where I can put more paint, or I can do an embossed symbol, or I can do, something that's made out of steel or so. And so you're always saying, where do you really want to spend that money, right? That's why sometimes little tiny weapons like a knife and stuff like that I just go, I don't think people are going to use it that much, and they're gonna lose it. I could have saved that 3-4 cents and done 3-4 more paint ops that might have made the toy look a little more impressive when it's just sitting on the shelf, when he's not going to be holding that knife anyways, because he comes with a big giant bazooka and he's going to probably be holding the bazooka, right? So you're constantly at my end, the toy maker end, you're constantly going, hey, here's how much money we have to spend. Where do we want to spend it, right? And even some of it, you don't even have a choice. You just look at their outfits and you go, wow, that's way more complicated than that other outfit, right? There's some superheroes that have pretty, simple uniforms, and there's some that are pretty elaborate, right?
Well, the Golden Armor Wonder Woman, I just shot my review of that figure, and holy crap, like the sculpting is just detailed.
But there's two levels. There's sculpting level, Russ, and then there's paint level.
And then the paint, and the gold.
No. But what I'm saying is, what if that costume had the same detail, but it had 15 colors on it, right? I mean, if you like, take a look at the Mortal Kombat toys we're making, not Spawn, but like Mortal Kombat period, right? Yeah. Those are pretty elaborate costumes, right? And so we're by the time we make sure that we get the paint job right on it, we don't have the luxury of saying we're going to give you an extra pair of hands because it costs us so much to paint it, right? Where somebody else, Superman, whose classic outfit is a little more plain, perhaps, right? We could take some of that money, but usually what we end up doing, and again, I'm going to bore everybody with all this stuff. They're going, Todd, we don't care about any of that. Is that sometimes you say, hey, Superman's pretty plain. We're going to save a little bit on him. But now I'm doing the Superman in the armor, and that's going to cost way more, right? So you take a little bit of the savings on your Superman to the left, and you put it into the robot one on the right, and it's still going to be more expensive combined than you would have liked, but they both look kind of cool. Now, did the classic Superman get, one less item? Maybe. It's possible. But then the Superman in the robot now gets to exist. And so you're balancing, is an extra head or a couple pair of hands or a knife worth not being able to profitably do this robot? My answer is no, I want to do the robot. And not only do I want to do the robot, I want to do it with like a metal slate paint job in some parts, which is more expensive than flat paint or gloss paint. It costs more to basically do candy apple red on a toy. So all of this is just working within a budget, and everybody is basically making their own, mod pizza, if you will, and their Chipotle. They're just stuffing their burrito the way they want, and probably you're not going to find any two people that would spend their money exactly the same.
No, definitely not. But I do think the vast majority of collectors have kind of moved into a direction where they want as much stuff with their figure as much as possible. I really think the biggest influence, I think one of the best representations of what adult collectors want to see is a lot of these Japanese manufacturers.
Right.
They throw in multiple faces, multiple hands, multiple effects. Right. They have the sculpt and the paint and all the art.
Here's why I won't do it. Because they charge you fucking $80.
Yeah, yeah.
You want me to give you $2 more of plastic for $60 add-on? You know what? I can't, in good conscience, do that. Because here's the thing, Russ. If I ever wanted to do that version, I could do it for $40, $50. I could do it.
I'm in.
Right. So I don't get why those toys are $80 because I know how much it costs to do them. It's bizarre to me.
I think that's mostly
they've conned you that that's an $80 toy. So
yeah, I've seen it. There's one company I've seen where they first started, they're $35 and now they're $90. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But I'm the opposite. My job is to embarrass those companies.
Yeah, that's my job is to say you're already starting. You're already getting it.
There's my toy for $20. You tell me, you with a straight face, tell me why your toy, which is the same size, is $4 times the cost. Tell me, it's not like I'm getting 4 figures. I'm not even getting 2 times the plastic. I'm getting a bunch of heads and add-ons and whatever else, blah, 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 blah. You know any of those pieces you can put in one mold? Like, what are you talking about? This is like, we did it before with, years ago with the Halo, where we gave like all these heads and all these hands and all these chests. And it was like this, like literally like going in the fridge and looking at all the stuff that was in the fridge. And we still were able to sell that for like $29 or something. Like, I don't get it.
That's what I'm saying is that, like, if you went that direction, I'm sure you could do it at half the cost that of these Japanese companies, and I think you would nail it as far as the aesthetics and all that stuff goes.
Right, but here's the problem, Ross. Because now I'm going to bore you with business. The reason they have to go to 80 is because as much as people say, oh my God, those Japanese toys are so good, they actually don't sell as many as you think they do. And so since they don't sell as many as they do, they have to jack the price so they can basically cover their costs. This is just a spreadsheet. I know how this works, right? Because I've had to do that sometimes. I can do that toy. I'm not going to sell it, but to make my cost back, because I think I'm only going to sell 2,000, I'm going to have to charge you $50. If I could sell 10,000, I could drop that cost down to $29, right? So there's a little bit of apples and oranges when people say, hey, Todd, I want to compare your $20 item. Why aren't you making your $20 item like the $80 item? Because I'm not charging you $80 and I don't have $80 worth to spend. Like, that's why, right? It's so you can't say, why is the Ford Focus why isn't the same car as the top flight Tesla, ludicrous S model? Because it's not the same car. It's not the same car, and you're not given the same stuff.
Yeah, but it's like, but you have like the same engine though, because it looks so good. I know you actually don't, but it almost comes off as like there's a lot of similarities there, because
there are a lot of similarities. No, there's a lot, absolutely. But what you're saying is one's a car, one's a car. Those two are similar, but there's a reason why one's 80,000 and one's 20,000. So there's a way for me to upgrade toys, and I could do it all day long. It's just for me to stay in business and do what I do and be prominent enough so that I can do it with some of the brands that I do. I have to sell a certain amount of them to the big box stores, and they require certain price points and certain box sizes and all those other. I mean, Hasbro and Mattel have to fall into the same line as I do. And the money you make from those deals allow you then to go and do some of this other cool stuff, right? So, I can now do this Kickstarter and still keep my overhead, because my overhead is being paid for mostly by the stuff we do at Mass. If all I was doing was $100 Kickstarters, I would only need 5 people, and I'd have to lay off a bunch of other people. So you can sell anything at any price. You just have to right size your overhead. And I've got a good group of people, and for the group of people I have, I can't just do little small high-end stuff. There's not enough commerce with my overhead. I would have to, because I've even had my own employees say, why don't we do this? It's like, cool, I can do that. I need 40% of you to raise your hand and say that you quit today, right? Because there's not enough income to do it. There's not enough income to do it, right? So, okay. And none of those companies are getting, at some point you want to sell stuff so that you can go and make something else. None of those people are getting rich, right? Let me just give some of you people a bit of a business tip.
Hey, new ShartimusPrime videos. Hey, you should click one. Yeah, click on one of them. Or subscribe if you haven't. Your face.